Today's tip of the week is to remember to encourage others. Give the gift of grace. It is one of the best things that you can give your customers, your people, your stakeholders, your employees. Grace allows for being human and learning in this journey of work and life. A little mini case study that I want to share is Lindsay Ray McIntyre. She's the Chief Diversity Officer at Microsoft, revealed that embracing a growth mindset helped the company find new ways to approach its diversity and inclusion work by giving each other grace to practice and fail fast. Employees are better able to learn and improve, and as a result, they've been able to elevate periodic allyship to regular and frequent habits globally. So recognizing Lindsay for being a trendsetter. And we're going to welcome to our show, Amanda. So I'm so excited that you're here. Amanda Allen with Florida High Tech Corridor and also STEM Connect. Amanda, I'm really glad to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, and look at you wearing those black and gold colors from UCF.
Go Knights.
Go Knights. And for this, for our listeners that do not have video, you can always go and subscribe to us on our YouTube channel. But I will describe, she is in this vibrant yellow color, and it is really striking against the black background. And those are the colors of University of Central Florida's Knights. Are you a big football fan there? Do you go to the games?
I have been to a lot of the games. I am a big fan, and I do follow the seasons, actually. It's one of the few sports teams I do follow.
Nice. Are there any other sports that you're super involved with over there at UCF? I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot, but.
No, I followed their basketball for off and on, but other than that, not much.
Very nice. All right. 5 words that you would use to describe yourself. And just keep in mind, I'm going to ask you why those 5 words. So you have a choice. You can say a word and tell us why, or you can rattle all 5 of them off and then go back and do a recap on it.
Okay. So I would say passionate, driven, smart, nice, and humorous. I think I'm hilarious. And I think I'm pretty smart. I catch on to things pretty quickly. I try to be as nice as possible. And, I think I lead with passion and a lot of drive in everything I attempt to do.
I would agree with that. I've known you for quite a while now. Has it been 4 years?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I started doing some things with STEM Connect. I know that people will not necessarily know what that is, but why those 5 words to describe you? Because funny, I would never use the word funny to describe myself because people don't think I'm funny at all. So explain.
Well, I really wanted to say good sense of humor, but that's more than a word.
So
that's
okay.
Feel like a good fit, but really, I enjoy laughing. So I make myself laugh. So I'm funny.
Yeah. Okay. That totally works. So going back to your other 4 words.
So those ones I feel like speak more to me as a person and the way I try to just lead my life and live and try to go about my days is I'm very passionate. I think I work in something that I care deeply about. I am very driven. Once I put my, have a goal, I'm organized and I get there. That's the goal.
You graduated from UCF. What was your major? What does your degree hold for you here? Yeah, and you're back in school too. So
yeah, I'm currently in a communications master's program, but I graduated in visual arts and emerging media management as part of their digital media program at UCF. And I also minored in digital media and political science.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of degrees.
Yeah. Well, it was like a major and 2 minors. So
that's a lot.
It was a lot easier than it.
How long does it take to do that many? Because it doesn't sound like that's a 4-year thing. That sounds like 5, maybe.
No, it took me 5 years. Yeah. I hung out a minute.
Were you a teacher? Is that why you like so many different fields of study?
So both my parents are teachers. My whole family, I come from a long line of educators. My great grandmother, for example, was an educator. So education is very important. I started in school as an engineering major and
Mm.
decided I did not want to be an engineer because I did not like math even a little bit. So that's when I switched to the digital media. And then I just always loved politics. So naturally, after accumulating so many hours in that, I just decided to stick it out and get the minor.
That is really, really interesting. So what's cool is that you went into STEM because you initially started as an engineer. I know we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit because we haven't even defined what STEM is for some of our listeners. They may not know. We'll pretend that they may not know. But in the meantime, I don't think we covered all of the words, though, that you said.
So passionate, driven, smart, nice, and humorous.
Okay, then yeah. I would agree with all of those words to describe you for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're like a little bubble of joy, honestly. Every time I talk with you, I sit here, I go, I feel good about myself. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, truly, I
Yeah.
do. Yeah, you're a really good listener. I would say that. I also think that you're really supportive and you push us all forward
Awesome.
yeah,
I love these
in a
things.
in a way that's very helpful for us. It's all for us differently,
Well, you make
honestly.
it so easy to be supportive and
Oh,
you make it easy.
well, thank you.
So
We're in
thank
each
you.
other's fan club for
Yeah,
sure then.
exactly.
Okay. So those degrees, I noticed that on your LinkedIn profile that you started as an intern with Florida High Tech Corridor. So how did you go from college to where you are now, where you run a whole program for the whole state? That's amazing.
Yeah, so this is a kind of a fun adventure. So I started as an intern, and initially I thought I wanted to be in digital media, and I was thinking amusement parks because we live in Florida. That's huge. So I was very focused on getting into amusement parks, and then all of a sudden I got talked to by my mom, who made this connection with the Florida High Tech Corridor and this new program that they were going to be creating with these virtual connections, and they needed somebody in digital media, and she said, "You have to apply." So I went and applied, and it ended up being one of my professors was also the person who was doing the hiring for it. And I loved her class. And so it was a very easy, natural fit. And then I met the rest of the team. And once they brought me on, I was an intern for their first year, where we were very much testing out what we were doing, going through all the what makes a teacher want to do this, what makes an expert want to speak to, all those different things. And then I left for a year, and that's when I went and taught middle school technology after I graduated.
So what is teaching middle school technology? I taught middle school also, but English. So what is teaching technology? And what school was that?
Yeah, so I taught at Southwest Middle School in Palm Bay. That's Brevard County. And so I taught two parts. So there was the career exploration, which was a lot of fun. I don't think many educators out there always agree with the career exploration is really fun because it's kind of like pulling teeth from middle schoolers. They have no idea. But that's the exciting part, is let's talk about it. And I also came from STEM Connect, so there's a little bit of tie there for me. But technology specifically, then we were building race cars, like CO2 cars and solar cars. And really it's trying to introduce them to all the different areas of technology, whether it's communication tech, manufacturing tech, all those different things. And I loved it. And my students were competitive. I was big in the Technology Student Association. I still volunteer with them a lot. And so my students got to compete in that, and that was a lot of fun. So that's kind of middle school technology is playing, building bridges.
Technology is a really big word, right? I mean, it's a long word for sure, but it encompasses a lot. So that's why I was going, well, what does that mean that they're fixing computers? Does it mean that they're learning how to program? Is it something that's not even on that spectrum? It could be something just totally different, like maybe it's doing a podcast. I don't know.
Yeah, so it can be a lot of different things, especially middle school, because you're just trying to introduce them. So some of my classes, we were building video games. And then in one of my classes, we were building planes. So it was kind of, you're always learning because
planes like in computers.
So there was computer simulated planes that they could build, and then we would do like balsa planes and actually go into the gym and fly them.
Oh man, your class sounds so much fun. Oh my God. I would be doing something with like jumping rope. Let's see how many times somebody can jump rope.
Right.
And how much energy is being consumed when you're doing that. Like,
That sounds perfect.
That would be perfect, right? Because it's giving them physical exercise, and it's also tying to something that's measurable. And that was just like off the top of my head. But you said gym, and that's why I thought that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
most of the time we were testing things, like we would build catapults and things like that. So a lot of times we're using big open space is needed for testing catapults and planes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. That sounds like something that the first, and I don't know what that acronym totally stands for, but it's the robotics competition. Were you part of that?
No, so my students did Bex robotics. They're a little bit smaller. It's a little bit more affordable for
Mhm.
some schools, and it's a lot easier to do. It still comes with the whole thing, but also TSA has a competition. The nice thing about any robotics curriculum, though, is it's just a great opportunity for students to get, hands-on experience with coding, building, working in a team. I mean, any robotics, there's Lego League for First, Bex. I mean, they're all pretty great. We're checking out all of them.
So much fun. So did you get to go on field trips too? Because you said Legos, and I'm thinking, oh boy, does that mean we go to Legoland and we actually get to go play over there? Did you do
No.
field trips?
We didn't do any field trips besides competition, but I mean, competition's a big one. It's a 4-day event, and that's a lot of money you got to raise to get there. So
It is. But what was even more, I would think that your classes, which they should have always been at capacity. Everybody would want that. Who
Yeah.
doesn't want to go play with Legos? I mean, they're
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, no, I didn't, no trouble in filling up classrooms in a tech classroom, in my opinion. I think, and from my experience, both of my parents, just to give you an idea, my dad teaches robotics now, and my mom teaches engineering. My brother is now a middle school tech teacher. So I'm telling you, the family business is education. So, and they all can tell you crazy stories, but definitely never a dull moment.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So when you graduated with this degree in, what was it? Digital what now?
So it was visual arts and emerging media management.
Yeah, that's a long title. Break
Yeah.
that down for us.
So basically, it was in the digital media group of things. So you got to take art classes and digital media classes, so like website design, but then you also took business classes on top of that. So I focused a lot on how writing a business plan for like a creative business. What would
All
that
for
look
middle
like?
schoolers?
No, this was,
Oh,
I didn't do that with my middle schoolers. That was
okay.
my undergrad program, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That is super. Okay. You had the best degree, I think, ever major that you could gone for, because it's got to be the most fun. It must be hard to fund that in the public school.
It is, and it is. In public schools right now, I feel like all funding is difficult, and
Mhm.
anything tech related, we want to put more tech in school. We want to put more STEM in school, but it all costs money. So that's the big deal right there.
Mhm. STEM, what does that acronym mean for our listeners?
Yes, science, technology, engineering, and math, and they go together.
They sure
work
do.
together. Yes.
Yeah, they do. Now, I was an English major, and I think that most females tend to go to majors that are more in literature and things that are in education, reading, probably the arts also. I think that I'm hoping that there's been more of a shift to move into things like engineering, like programming, like math, because my dad was, he taught for, I think it was 3 months when I was a baby, and he said, well, I'm going to go get a second job. And he thought teaching would be easy. He didn't even last 3 months. He said, no, they're animals. He could not relate to middle school students and high school students at all. He had no patience, but he was really, really young too in that area. Anyway, when he tried to teach me math, it was not going well because he was an engineer. He was a mechanical engineer, and he was really, really good at math. And I venture to say that my dad is probably Mensa brilliant. I mean, he's got that IQ up there. So trying to learn math from somebody that's really, really good was a little intimidating. I don't know. How many women or young women are actually going into STEM careers? Do you have any idea? Because your STEM program, which you still haven't been able to talk about yet, is all about getting high schoolers involved in that.
Yeah, so I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I do. since it's growing and it's getting better, but it's very slow. And I think the biggest thing is there's a lot more representation now, and there's going to continue to be more. I like to think that we'll reach this point where representation will matter. There just will be women there. Like
Yeah.
it will be their space. But right now it's still important. I think the biggest thing is, kind of what you were saying is sometimes engineers go into classrooms and they teach, and it can be helpful. It also, they're not a teacher. They're that you do go to school to be a teacher, and you do have to learn things to be a teacher. It's not, you can't just walk in and do it. So I think one of the biggest things is people think if you just tell students simply be an engineer, they'll want to be an engineer. But it's got to be a little more convincing to that. What's in it for them? What makes that job cool? What makes it great? And even so I had students who went to like a girls in engineering day at Harris. And, it wasn't Harris. I don't know where it was. I shouldn't probably put a company.
That's
there.
okay.
I'll restart that.
It was a company that was in technology.
Yeah, it was some, corporation brought a bunch of girls out to do, a STEM day for girls. And basically, sometimes they went through this whole day, and all of them came back and they were like, and these were my own tech students. They were in a technology class. They are the ones who should be getting interested into this. And still they were just like, no, it doesn't seem like it's for me. And it's like, well, what happened between leaving here excited for STEM and coming back to where you didn't want to go into engineering? And, they were only middle school, so there was still time to get them to change that view. But you kind of always wonder, sometimes they put on these big events, but they just like show everything in pink and think that means girls are going to want to be there. But if you don't show them what's actually cool about the job, are they going to want to be there?
Well, and I think there could be this disconnect between, okay, at school, you're learning about technology and you're flying planes and you're getting to see Legos and stuff like that. And you don't do that in the workplace, wherever it is that we might be. However, there's still, why does that work matter? And I think that's the thing that probably needs to be focused on, so that they can see the vision of what they're doing. Kind of like that movie Hidden Numbers, where there was all of these women, and they were Black women that went into work at NASA. Hidden Figures. Thank you. Yeah. Hidden Figures. And they went in and they're doing all of this incredible math to help make rockets go to the moon and just travel and be able to be in outer space. But no, we don't want you in this one room. Well, everything shifts when they know that there's this one woman that is so expert with these numbers. She was solving problems that the men couldn't do. And this was, I guess, back in the 50s and the 60s. I think that those are the stories that girls need to hear to be able to see that, well, you could be the one that's solving that problem, or you can be the one that helps get somebody to Mars, whatever,
right?
Because not everything is we get to play with toys.
Right. Well, and I think the big thing is showing students the elements. So when they design the planes and they learn that they like drafting, well, there are jobs in drafting, and just making those simple connections. I think that helps every student.
Oh, I agree.
That would change your STEM outlook a lot, I think.
Yeah. You should be really running some, I guess, workshops for instructors. I mean, on Wednesdays when I was teaching, we would always have to go to, some type of a, workshop to go and get our CEUs,
Right.
continuing education. So I can't even remember what it was called now, but there's a name for it. Anyway, I could see you running that to actually help. One of the most impactful ones that I went to was how to incorporate economics into the classroom.
Okay.
It was a great one.
That sounds great. Yeah.
I got play money. I've talked about it on a couple of other shows, but man, those kids were incentivized because there was play money, and it was tied to, okay, you got to find me making a mistake. If you find me making a mistake, if I'm writing on the board or whatever, you get $1. All of this was at the end of the day. Well, at the end of every week, they could turn it in for real prizes, either out of the treasure box, or they were able to get a pass to go to be the first in the lunch line, first at the, the bus at the end of the day, or just walk around the halls. And I was teaching, at risk. So they were a tough group. Anyway, what was super funny is at the end of a semester, the play money got street value and they were buying it. So they were, hey, I'll give you $2 for, 200
Yeah.
of her bucks. Because they knew that they could do some stuff
Right.
with
Do
it, but they
something.
could see it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So making sure that people can see the dots and connect them easily, that's super, super important.
Yeah.
So now you're in this role of STEM Connect over here. You're the program manager. What is that program like at Florida High Tech Corridor?
Yeah.
Oh, and I don't think I asked you the mission of Florida High Tech Corridor.
Yes, our goal is to attract, retain, and grow the high-tech industry here in Florida, and that includes the workforce to go with it,
Mhm,
which is the STEM Connect portion, is technically workforce development.
mhm.
But we do that by targeting K through 12 schools or students. And really the goal is to inspire them to pursue STEM careers because, all of these high tech jobs, they're not just tech when we say that. They are STEM. There are mathematicians who work there.
Mhm.
There are also scientists, and engineering is a huge one. But so what we do is we do these virtual connections between experts in the STEM careers and classrooms. So teachers submit us requests. So for example, a high school physics class can ask for a speaker and anything related to physics. And we'll get them a rocket scientist who can talk directly about how they use those physics concepts in their job every single day. The nice thing is when your students ask, why do I need to learn this? We're trying to provide those answers. These are the
Oh,
real
so
goals.
important. Yeah. Are you going to the Future of Education Technology Conference? It's next week.
No, I've always wanted to go, and I think I'm going to have to put that on my bucket list for next year.
Oh man, maybe I can take you in with me. I'm serious. I'm going next week and I'm going to be doing interviews on the floor with a lot of the speakers. I could use somebody going along with me to help record.
I would help.
Okay, let me see if I can get you a media pass and then you can go with
That'd
me.
be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great because
Yeah.
then,
No, I've been very curious about what they have there.
it's K through 12.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, yeah, it looks super good. And it starts Tuesday through Friday, half day on Friday, but it's Tuesday 9 to 4:30, I think is where the last day is.
Okay.
But let me see what I can do. And then we could actually shout that out with Florida High Tech Corridor, everything that and it would give you a whole new list of people to get involved with.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and STEM Connect itself is kind of looking at what's next. And
Yeah.
one way to do that is to see what everybody else is already doing.
All right. So we're going to partner up for that one. I'm not sure how it's going to happen, but I'm going to ask and I'm pretty sure they'll say yes. So
Okay, that'll
yeah.
be awesome.
So, well, I'm putting words in somebody else's mouth, but I'm going to hope
I'll
so.
keep fingers crossed.
Yeah, we will. Anyway, women that are moving up in the ranks. So what do you see currently in the presentations that you guys do? Well, let me back that up. So what does your program do? How does it connect students to people in technology? Let's just talk about the program.
Yeah, so it's like a Zoom event, basically. It's a webinar. We find a teacher who has a need, and then we find an expert that matches them. We have a database of both teachers and experts. They're speakers from all across the region, and they might work in a STEM career. They might support a STEM career. So that includes, so for example, every STEM business needs a marketer. We also will, talk to them and focus on how they market a STEM business, because at the end of the day, that helps the high tech industry. And you do have to have a knowledge of STEM if you want to work at all in a STEM business. So we would talk a lot with a lot of different people, and really what the goal is based off what the teacher requests. So sometimes teachers ask for extremely specific talking points. Other times it's a little bit more broad. They just want an introduction to nursing careers, or they want to know about possible internships. So when we have those things, we find experts and connect them.
I know I've spoken before about topics like entrepreneurship, or, what they need to have on a resume, or even what to expect from an internship. I have always enjoyed it. And one of the things I remember when I was first signing up to volunteer, what was it? The email had said, so you will be talking to students all over the whole state of Florida. And I went, wait, what? What's going on? And so how do you distribute all of these speakers?
Yeah, so we technically serve 23 school districts within Florida right now. And So how it kind of works is it's based off topic, really. However, we do target specific areas. So for example, we have a lot of agriculture speakers, and agriculture's very big in tech right now. And there's a lot that they're doing that's very interesting, especially with the
Hydroponics, right?
yeah, and drones, and it's crazy the stuff that is involving in agriculture. So we have a good partnership, for example, with UF-IFAS, and some of their extension agents will do special talks on maybe what's next in farming, or they'll talk about specifics, how to get a garden going. So it can vary. Our goal is to always be specific for the age range. You can't talk about the same topic to a kindergartner that you can to a senior in high school. So we are always trying to make sure that it's, we kind of know our speakers, and I think that's a good thing because we're able to really know if they're able to talk to a certain crowd and what they're able to really talk about.
I had a guest on my show. He's from Cornell University, and Cornell is an agriculture school also. And our podcast plays at Cornell University and WVBR FM in New York. What is very interesting now, that show, we did it as video, but for anybody that's listening to it, you really have to go watch him. He was super, super interesting. His name is Professor Michael Timmons, Timmons. I would venture to say you should have him as a speaker, because it's kind of like watching Bill Nye, the science guy. He's going, see this speaker? He's holding it up right in front of the camera and says, you know what's in here? And he made it so incredibly entertaining. I understand that he is one of the most popular professors at
awesome.
Cornell, because I was just in stitches the whole time that we interviewed. That was in season 3. And I could not stop laughing. I said, you should really do stand-up comedy, because like you're teaching me all about farming and agriculture and hydroponics. And that was what he was specializing in. But my goodness, it was a show.
That's
it was truly a
awesome.
show. So if you have some of those professors, I would imagine it's pretty fun when you have them on there.
Yeah, we have some speakers who are very dynamic, but a lot of our sessions are more question and answer based, so they don't always get the most showy, but we are trying to come up with more ways to be more innovative in our presentations to people.
So I'm playing with that, and I'm trying to make things more interactive, and maybe that's something that I can do with you. I'll just throw it out there as doing vision boarding and making it so that it is interactive. So there's a list of supplies that people would have to have prior to, and then, walking them through what is a vision board and how do they see that playing into either their bucket list, like for you, or their future, whether it's, education, their goals in life, family, short-term, long-term. It's a whole lot that goes on there, but it can be that visual roadmap that you want to get to.
Absolutely. That'd be cool.
That would be fun. So I'm testing all of these out as interactive workshops. I'm recording them and putting them in our E4C Academy, and I'll let you know. But happy to test it out on your students, because that would be a totally different group also to try it out and see. And it would be even more interesting to do it in a class that they wouldn't see that coming. Like, nobody ever seems to like English, but that would be a perfect place to plug in, because they could see vision boarding working very well with, I would think, technology, potentially with art for sure. And then we also have STEAM. We didn't even talk about STEAM.
Well, you could also expand to STREAM.
I don't even know what his stream is. What is STREAM?
Adding reading.
Oh my goodness. There you are. English is back in vogue.
Yep. I mean, I just feel like every time we get crazy with these acronyms, it just goes to show the importance of a well-rounded education.
Yes. Yeah.
Everybody's important.
Yeah. And just so our listeners know, STEAM includes arts.
Yeah.
So it's still the same acronym as STEM.
We're just adding some extra stuff.
Art in it. And then STREAM adds arts, and now it also has reading.
Yep.
So having it, you're right, a balanced educational approach is so important. So, okay, best speaker that you ever had that is truly memorable for you.
So my favorite speaker is one of our first speakers, and his name's Dr. Weeping You. He is a rocket scientist from NASA. He's one of those very dynamic speakers. He always has new experiments that students can do at home, and he gets the students really engaged with guessing what's going to happen next. And he added me on LinkedIn and became my friend, and so he's one of my favorites.
Now I want to know him. I want to be connected. So
Yeah,
yeah.
he's really cool, and he's just very dynamic. And I don't know how you don't watch his stuff and go away, I need to learn physics.
It is super cool. I think that was something that was an unpredicted outcome of having the Big Bang Theory, is it made being a science or being in the science field, all of a sudden it became really cool.
Yeah,
It was cool
it's cool
before.
to be a nerd.
Yeah. And it was okay. So he again also sounds kind of like a Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah, he's very fun, and he can talk the whole, to the whole gamut of students. I mean, he can make it so elementary students are right there with him, which is really fun because we've had classrooms that will literally cheer for him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's really fun. And then high school students, I mean, he's so knowledgeable that you just almost want to try to find a curveball for him, and you can't. He knows
Yeah.
everything.
So what's his name again? And spell it.
Dr. Weeping You, ING, and then YU.
Very nice. And what
Shout out.
school is he from?
No, he's at NASA.
He's at NASA.
Kennedy
Okay.
Space Center.
Wow.
Rocket
Okay.
scientist, literally.
Literally rocket scientist. Okay. Favorite quote that you like to live by? I know we talked about this before we got on here, and this one was kind of throwing you for a curveball a little bit, but it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be some type of a super inspirational thing. It's
Yeah, so I have a Rosie the Riveter poster that I've had since middle school, and it says, "We can do it." That's probably what I go by.
yeah. And the key word in there, every single one of those words is very, very impactful because it's using the word we, which is totally about inclusion. That's everybody.
Right.
And there's no, we can try, we're going to do it. So we're going back to Nike.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, if we can't do it, you can do it.
Mhm.
So, but it's better when it's we.
Yeah,
Get a lot further.
I do agree. Yeah. And I don't know if all of our listeners know who Rosie the Riveter is. We might need to do it just little time check.
Yeah, so she was from World War II, and basically when they needed women to start taking some of the jobs that men had traditionally had here in the States, like including in our factories and helping with other, I think like the women Air Force service pilots, things like that. Basically, she was like the poster child, literally. Well,
Yeah.
not a child.
It's a real
poster
woman too,
Yeah.
right? I believe I remember reading that. I don't know much about the history of that particular character or figure in history, but I really believe that's based on a real woman.
I think so. And I know there was a bunch of them. There was a lot of different posters and women who were, they used as targeted ads basically.
I'm Googling it right now just to
Yeah,
see
she was
like
really
what it
popular.
is. So I will tell you in just a minute. Rosie there it is. It pops up. Yeah, a real person. And because I sit here and I talk about some of these things on the show and then I don't go back and update it. So anybody listening to our show, please feel free to go ahead and correct us on our show or tell us, hey, this is the real story about this person. So it says the true identity of Rosie the Riveter has been the subject of considerable debate. For years, the inspiration for this woman in the Westinghouse poster, didn't know that, was believed to be Geraldine Hoff Doyle of Michigan, who worked in a Navy machine shop during World War II. So, they don't apparently have the whole thing, but it's 1924. She died in 2020.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
2020 was not a good year.
no, but I don't know how long that is, but 30, 44, 54, 64, 74, 84, 94. She was 80 something years old, pretty close to 90. Yeah. Or right around there. Wish my math was better, but nonetheless, and it will be.
That's not my thing.
Yeah, that's okay. It's all good. So the thing about Rosie is, again, a figure from the, honestly, World War II. And that was something that we didn't see a lot, where women were involved in any type of a setting like that. And women were going into the workplace and they were working in the manufacturing plants because the men were at war.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want something really interesting from World War II, the women Air Force service pilots really are an interesting to look into. And they basically helped with like refueling and things like that. They weren't all the way overseas, but they were pretty integral of helping us do that.
It's always good to go back and look at history and see, how times have changed, and realize that what may look like it took a long time, it really wasn't. And it's all moving at the pace of technology.
Right.
Yeah. Most influential person or persons in your life, and why?
Yeah, so it's definitely my parents. They're always in my ear. No, they're
Aren't they
awesome.
always?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to live with them for them to not be in your head. They're always in your head.
But they were both educators, and they're just very hardworking, very great people, and I've always gone to them.
Mm-hmm. It's good to have, my mother has passed away, and I can tell you, it was not always the best relationship, but it wasn't absolutely the worst relationship either. It was just that we were very strong women, both of us.
Yeah.
So we would butt heads sometimes. Anyway, I miss my mom so much now. I just sit here and I go, gosh, I wish I could still go and argue with her about this, or just ask her about this. And I wish I could do this over. Like, there's so many things that I just miss about my mom. I usually talk with my dad about once a week. And I ask him, I said, so Dad, I want you to go and tell me the stories of like growing up. And so he does this every week with me. He said, do you remember when we went and did this and this and this? And I said, I do not. And he said, I go back. He tells me, I go back and I wonder, like, why is it she doesn't remember her childhood? Was it like that bad? I said, no, but there was just a lot going on. And maybe it's that the stories weren't told to me as much. So that's why I have him tell it to me. My other brother, he does remember them, but he spent more time with my dad. So,
okay.
It just makes more sense that he knows those things. Anyway, okay. What are you most proud of?
At this point, I think I'm most proud of my career so far. I've been able to be a part of a really great team with STEM Connect in the Florida High Tech Corridor. And I think we've come a far way, and I think we have a long way to go still, but I think we've been able to do some really cool stuff. And I hope we're making any impact, any inspiration to a student who's interested in going into STEM, I think is helpful. I think if I had a STEM Connect program and heard a couple of our speakers, I might have actually stayed with the engineering. So I think it can be powerful. I think the hardest part is making sure you're reaching the right students with the right message. That's really hard to figure out.
What? I have an idea for you. I don't know if you guys are doing this or not, but I feel like you should have a campaign that runs the year and have students nominate other students that really reflect tech. And so then there can be this student of the week, if you will, and you do a little interview of those students and you put them out there just to show what they're capable of. So I'm going to throw that one out there. And it could end up being student of the day, honestly, if it catches on with all of these schools across. So you'd have to create that as a campaign, really push that out there so that the teachers are sharing it with the students, and to create more engagement. You could also share, one of the things that Simfluence does for us is it tells us every 2 weeks, here's all of the things that are happening in your city, in your region, in your state, and outside of the United States. And there's all of these competitions that students can do. And even with my own podcast, I did that because I sat there and I went, well, I want to create more engagement. So I had my highlights of 2021, and any of our guests that had more than 40 downloads, they went on there. And I tagged everybody in my social media post and said, okay, we're going to have a competition. Whoever has the most downloads by the end of the year gets to have bragging rights. I gave them a certificate, a badge, really, a certificate with a badge. And then they came back as a guest on the show again to talk a deeper dive. I'm not kidding. It just blew up. Like we went over so many
That's smart
downloads.
marketing. Yeah.
It worked really well. So I'm sitting here going, okay. So I wanted to really leverage that. And so we've had, 3 of the top shows. There was announcements about it. So make it a competition so that the kids are nominating each other.
Yeah,
It can be,
absolutely.
schools. I mean, they're teachers also, but fun stuff.
Yeah, no, well, and as STEM kind of continues to change, we are hoping to start getting into more audience generated, which is really student generated content and what do they want to hear?
Yeah.
It's great to know what student or teachers want to teach, but we also need to hear what students want to learn.
Yep. And you could even ask the students, because I've seen these kind of things on Facebook where the students are nominating their teachers that have inspired them so that it goes both ways,
Right.
Yeah.
We've given words before primarily for involvement, like how much a teacher or a school was involved. So that would be really cool to take it up a notch and give teachers credit for all the work they
And
do.
you could even start your own awards around STEM, like, create a contest where you say, okay, so we've got this problem. We want to see which of the schools, the students at which schools like this problem. And maybe it's to solve plastic bags in the environment, something that's
Right.
realistic, that they can really have a big impact. How would you reduce plastic bags in the use of your community? What's the campaign you would do? I know here in Orlando, we worked on eliminating straws and plastic bags in the downtown Orlando area. Thank you, Chris Castro, giving him a little shout out there. And he has a lot of impact in environment. Students are very passionate about environment, so they could care about that quite a bit. Definitely hits all of the STEM, science, technology.
Yeah, we could even do a little video series with some of our experts who could talk about some ideas and help them brainstorm and the research behind why things are important. That'd be fun.
And there's been some really cool videos I've seen of other people of how they've cleaned up the ocean with all of the plastics that are in there.
Yeah.
What would the students do to eliminate plastics? And there's even another company, Grove. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Okay, I haven't heard of them.
Grove.
They're gonna say For Ocean.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well, I think I know that one too. Anyway, the Grove is a company that wants to reduce the use of plastics by, I think it's 2024. And so they're eliminating everything so that you're using, a glass reusable container, and they're sending you packaging that is biodegradable.
Okay, yeah, I know who Grove is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took a minute.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you're into those trendy things too.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think it's trendy. I think it's vital, honestly. Like we really need to be doing that. Yeah. Like we need clean water. Hello.
Yeah.
We're not drinking Coke because you got to have water to make, Pepsi or
Right.
Coke or whatever you're drinking. Anyway.
Clean water.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. How do you like to communicate with others? In person, video chat, phone, text, social channels? What do you do? Email?
Yeah. So weirdest answer after all of COVID. I like video calls.
Okay.
But I've been in the video world since 2013, so long before COVID. I think the greatest thing about video calls is you get the body language and the facial reactions that you get with an in-person meeting, but you do get to wear pajama pants and have your own coffee from home. So it's kind of the
or
best
your
of both
dog at
worlds.
your feet, right?
Yes, my sweet little Rory.
Yeah, yeah. And you have that cute little puppy there. All right. Well, we're going to take just a minute to recognize our sponsor. I'm going to hope that this actually plays.
The Intern Whisperer is brought to you by Cat5 Studios, who help you create games and videos for your training and marketing needs that are out of this world. Visit Cat5 Studios for more information to learn how Cat5 Studios can help your business. Thank you, Cat5 Studios.
Okay, fun fact, that was done by Ian Castro. He was one of my interns, I want to say 3 years ago. It is timeless. I love it. And every time I play it, I think of you, Ian. So this is a shout out for you.
That's
He
awesome.
was, he does stand-up comedy also. I'm just going to make sure people know that.
Here in Orlando?
Yeah, he does.
have
So
to
look
go
him up,
check it out.
Ian Castro, IAN. Yeah. All right. So we're back to our show. We're going to be looking at the future of jobs in the industries in 2030. Thoughts about COVID. So you were doing all of this online. COVID hits. What happens for you?
We go bonkers. I mean, 50,000 students, I think we did in about 2 months.
Holy cow.
Yeah, it was crazy. Part of that was we had a really great partnership with the Boy Scouts where we offered STEM merit badges still while students were at home, but online. They weren't our traditional STEM Connect kind of situation. They were a little bit different, but still we impacted a lot of students. I mean, around the nation, I think we had some overseas. It was crazy. We went absolutely like 4 sessions a day, every day,
Wow.
back to back. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But it was really great. A lot of the students really loved it. They got to finish merit badges, which for Boy Scouts is like essential to making it to Eagle Scout. I don't know that much about Boy Scouts.
I do.
Still. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, but I do understand that much that the merit badges are important.
They are. Yeah. And not many people go all the way to Eagle Scout. So the thing that's so cool about an Eagle Scout is they're a teenager and they're still doing it. That's super cool. Secondly, they have to come up with a project. So it's essentially they're learning how to fundraise. And I mean, just whether you consider it investor raise or nonprofit, but they have to pick a project, something they want to improve in their community, be able to put together a team, be able to put together a budget, raise the money, and then go build whatever it is that's needed.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Impressive.
What's really good is I've seen a move of scouting getting away from boy and girl scouting separately. They've actually just kind of joined it together. It's just scouting as a group, and males and females together, and you're earning the same kind of badges.
Well, Girl Scouts still, I think, is only girls still.
It is. I was a Girl Scout. I don't know about you.
No, I was not.
Oh.
But Girl Scouts now is really cool.
It is
I will
cool.
say we've met with them a couple of times. They're not an official partner or anything, but love to support them. So they have a lot of STEM badges and they do a lot of STEM opportunities for girls, especially the council here in Orlando. And they do have, it's not an Eagle Scout, but they have a project that I didn't realize this about the Girl Scouts that was huge and similar size of a thing to do. And
Yes.
they do it all themselves and
Yeah.
I think that's impressive.
It really teaches somebody that's usually they're like either a sophomore, junior, maybe a senior. They have to do it before they're 18. That's for sure. Anyway, when they identify a project, a need in the community, and they built a whole mini business plan around it, they're really able to provide something that's very powerful because it's entrepreneurial. They're definitely using all of the STEM skills that are out there. And I think it speaks volumes on a resume. I know that it's almost as important as being a veteran, almost. And, if you see a veteran, somebody says they're a veteran on a resume, immediately people go, thank you for your service. We know that you can lead, that you can also follow, and I want you to be a part of my company. It's that important when employers see Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's impressive.
It is. Yeah. Because it's usually most, kids in high school are going, no, that's not cool.
Yeah.
But
well, and now there's so many great things for students to be out and involved with, like between the First Robotics and Skills USA. I mean, there's so many things that they can be heavily competitive in. I mean, I don't know. I'm impressed all the time by students who are out there doing cool things.
They are. Yeah. They're changing the world for sure. Remote, blended, on-site, and flexible work. Well, you were doing that anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Has work changed for you that much since you've been?
Yeah, we used to go in twice a week. And I was
Okay.
really good about going in twice a week.
Yeah.
And I liked it.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy to be pretty much remote all the time. We go in occasionally when we need to go in. We have a lot of equipment, so like it's kind of where we keep everything. But no, I think the future of work for everybody's remote.
So
Or
there would
flexible. I would
be,
take flexibles.
yeah,
Definitely the
flexible
future.
is the key trend for sure. That
Yeah.
is the key trend that everybody's talking about right now this quarter. flexibility to have that balance. But there's also a lot of discussion around, okay, well, you have this flexibility. So in the office, you typically would come in and be like 8:30 to 5. So now that work schedule has to adapt somewhat because we all know you're not working 8:30 to 5 because
Yeah.
you're at home, you're doing laundry, you're fixing dinner, you're going out to do whatever, walk your dog or go to the store, right? I mean, people do that stuff.
Right. Well, with STEM Connect, I mean, our schedules have always been a little weird because we work with both the business world and the school world, and schools can start as early as 7 a.m. So
You
some
start super early.
yeah, if you have sessions that start at 7 a.m., you start at 7 a.m.
Mhm.
So I would say, and in the summers, we run a ton of sessions. So there's some weeks where we run 10-hour days, Monday through Thursday, but guess what? Friday's free.
Mhm.
So it kind of depends. We stick to 40 hours a week, but it's a documented 40 hours a week. So it's not a ton of micromanaging, which is nice.
I would think that your world that you guys work in is also very focused on the outcomes because you're having to produce X amount of
Right.
workshops with
Yeah.
students.
Absolutely. And we're impact driven. So, when you have, like right now, we're slowing down and we can point to a lot of things and say that's the
Mhm.
reason. But either way, our outcomes aren't there. So when that happens, what you want to start doing is how can I make up for this? So
Mhm.
maybe that's looking for engaging new partners. Maybe that's finding experts in areas where we haven't had people, but it's fun.
It is. So I had gone and looked at what are the statistics in STEM as we're moving into 2030. And obviously, we're supposed to see a bigger increase. One of the things that was very interesting, let me pull this one up, is well, first off, I'll go to this one first. The US placed 30th out of 64 countries in math and 11th in science. And that was a little bit concerning for me because, when we talk about our country, we always want to be first, right?
Mhm.
Now, I only see this as a way that, well, we can only go up. The world is becoming a smaller place, or it seems that way. Whereas we're seeing a lot more diversity in the schools and making sure that students are all being included. So I feel like there's this place of some cultures having a stronger influence on what that STEM will look like in the United States, that new immigrants that come over here and kind of making us bring our better game. I kind of like that.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
Yeah. I've seen, more Asians and more Hispanics and certainly, people from all over the world coming into the United States. And they're not defined by, how we may see them. They're defined by what their goals are, and they're highly driven people. So I find them super inspiring to go, oh, you already come in knowing 3 languages, and I still only know English. So I think that the trend that we're going to see is that there will be more demand for learning multiple languages, at least having 2, not just
Yeah.
1, and being able to have these conversations with people where, no, they're not seen as a new immigrant or a new US citizen. They're like, no, we're all intelligent people here.
Yeah.
And we have different ways that we display what our gifts are that we have to bring to the table. No matter, in education, people are tracked by their abilities, and I would have students that would be in what was considered basic, standard, honors, and then gifted. And the gifted is measured by IQ. The others are based on, sometimes it's sad to say, socioeconomic, or, their skills and their abilities that they valued. So wouldn't it be really great? And I'll go back to, I don't know, the old times where we had like one classroom and everybody was, inspiring each other. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
I'm just throwing a lot of ideas out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things right now is with science and math scores and stuff is, I mean, I hate to bring this back up,
Yeah,
but
but
it's public
it's
funding for
important.
schools. And, when we take away resources, when we take away, sure, it's 1 or 2 bio labs that this teacher can't do, but those are the things that engage the students to want to learn the textbook part of it. I mean, you have to have both the fun and the book part of it. And I think a lot of times, we lose sight of what really education should be right now.
Right.
And I think we're kind of in a weird, okay, this is kind of a side tangent. I think we're at a weird point right now in Florida schools specifically, and how we want to go about things in the future. But I think what would be nice is just to see, we need to start trusting teachers again, is honestly what it is. I mean, we need to listen to them and actually value them. And I think right now we're seeing, the extremes of what happens when we don't do that. But, we have 2 ways to move forward. We can either continue the same path and maybe our STEM scores will maintain, or we can, do something about it. And I just, what you do about it will be interesting to see what happens.
I think that there's also this place where, they were cutting budgets in music and in PE and things that truly are important, because I can use science in in music, to be able to show how it increases plants to grow, that makes plants thrive. Whereas I can see the decibels and measure all of that. I mean, there's so much crossover between STEM and what people might consider liberal arts.
Right. Well, and I mean, we get so caught up in students need to understand the STEM concepts. And now, like, we think for some reason, these students in middle school need to know robots. Well, if they haven't learned how to type, they can't do robots yet. You know what I mean? There are stepping stones in STEM. And I think we overlook that a lot. Like, the importance of digital literacy is extremely high. Every student should have some kind of digital literacy, but they don't all need to be learning how to code if they're not interested in it. And, I grew up in Florida, in Kissimmee, and I had a typing class when I was in elementary school. So by the time I was in elementary, so by the time I was in middle school, I was learning how to code, but they were building blocks that made sense. I was already good at typing. I knew how to save a document. I knew very basics. I can tell you, as a middle school teacher with students who did not know how to open a document, did not know how to properly type, these are key things that we could be teaching earlier on. But once again, you got to fund the teacher in the classroom in the classroom to teach that. So it'll be interesting to see if we do anything ever about that.
I tell you, I should have led with all of these statistics, because some of them are a little bit disheartening, but I see it as, okay, well, if this is where we are, we need to go up.
Right.
And how do we go up? But I know we're closing in on the end of our show here. So, best mentoring advice that you want to share with our listeners?
My best mentoring advice is, right now with YouTube and even TikTok, and as silly as it sounds, is just research. Go out and, there's so many careers available. Still to this day, there are careers I learn about that I would have never thought were a thing. And if you find an industry that's interesting, but you don't like the job, start looking and watch the silly YouTube videos about a day in the life of a meteorologist to see if that looks interesting and you could picture yourself doing that. I mean, when you pick a career, we make it very, very boring. It's not an exciting process, but it can be a lot more fun. And when you start identifying, if you're in biology and you like biology, what about biology do you like?
Yes.
When you start to identify those things, and no matter how early you identify them, those are things you can start to build off. And, just in case, you're never too late to get into STEM. I mean, I still think about going back and getting an engineering degree, but for my, a second bachelor's, because why not? But
aren't you working on a master's?
Yeah, that's why I'm not crazy. I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
It just always comes up. You can't talk to that many engineers and not think, well, maybe I should do this.
I know. I thought about going back and taking programming classes, and I went, no, I don't want to make that commitment. But I did go take programming classes just so I could be more conversational, not because I saw it as a career path, but because I wanted to have an intelligent conversation. Well, what I hope would be an intelligent conversation with developers, so they would go, oh, okay, so she does know what a use case is, or she does know what, front and back end means. Like,
well, and I think that's the great thing about education is, even if you kind of take different things
Yeah.
and different paths, you can, you know, those are all experiences. That's knowledge that you now have that you can take into the next thing. And I mean, I would have never thought my interest in education would collide and my interest in digital media and give me this opportunity to be in a program like STEM Connect. But you just follow passions and opportunities, and next thing you know, you're using everything you've ever learned.
Cool. Very nice. How can our listeners connect with you? Is it on LinkedIn? You don't have to share your email address, but if you want to, you can. Obviously, it's Florida High Tech Corridor, but how can people find you?
Yeah, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. And then if you want to connect with me on email, it's amanda.allen@floridahightech.com.
Yeah, it is public record, probably. People can
Yeah,
find you.
it's very easy. You can go out to the STEM Connect page, which is actually flstemconnect.com. We have some exciting announcements coming up, hopefully over the next semester. So if you want to give us a follow,
Yeah.
that would be really cool.
Yeah. Do you have a newsletter that people can subscribe to?
So our newsletter right now is pretty dedicated to experts and teachers, but if you're interested in the newsletter, just shoot me an email and I'll get you on there.
That sounds great. Well, I want to be able to say thank you to Cat 5 Studios. Thank you to our production team, our video interns, Chase McDowell, David Ullman, Efren Sueves, and Keisha Perez. Our music is by Sophie Lloyd, Charles Fleming, Elijah Sutton. Sound effects, Eric Peterson, Miguel Sintra, Matt Miller, and Dave Francis. Visit employers4change at www.e4c.tech to learn how you can create real diversity and inclusion culture while scaling your people for the future. Amanda, so much fun.
Yeah, thank you. This was awesome.
I agree also. Thank you.